You are now listening to the Dad Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Kid.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dad Rules Podcast, where we help you dad better. I'm one of your hosts, Mario E. and Kid.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? You doing all right today?
I'm doing well. We got a special guest again today. Go ahead and
yeah.
introduce him for us.
Yeah, we got Cam from Elevated Lawnscapes today. He's going to be talking to us about lawn care, how to keep our yards looking right, looking fresh and green. Cam, welcome to the pod.
Yeah, welcome.
Hey, man. Appreciate it, brothers. Glad to be here. Yeah, man, we're gonna have a good time today. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna talk some lawn care and hey, see if we can get everybody on the right track. You know, spring right around the corner, so
That's right.
let's see if we can get ready for it.
All right. So, Cam, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, and shout out your YouTube channel and all that stuff for us.
Yeah, so as the introduction from Kid, I am Cam from Elevated Lawnscapes, and that is Lawn, Lawn. And I do have a YouTube channel, which is the same, Elevated Lawnscapes. You can find me on IG, also Elevated Lawnscapes there. And it is it's one of those channels where I try to bring a good vibe to it. Make sure we can kind of kick back, enjoy it, add a little something different to lawn care. And you can find information about how to get your grass green, how to get it growing, and how to maintain it, little maintenance practices and everything in there. And on top of that, I try to add a little bit more information on why things are the way that they are, a little bit of the science behind it. I'm an engineer by degree. I've always loved science. So I try to give you a little bit more information behind the whys of why we're doing things and the why of this is why you need to do it. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. Come through, check it out, and let me know what you think.
Man, I'm not going to lie. Looking at your IG, looking at your YouTube, I mean, the yards that you have on there, the pictures, I mean, it doesn't look real. It is absolutely amazing. And also, I saw you kind of like you were saying, you bringing your own swagger to, the lawn care community and bringing your uniqueness. And I think that's just awesome and excellent. I think you can bring a lot to our listeners because we got listeners full of dads that we have these busy schedules but we all want that yard looking right. It's a certain amount of pride that comes with making that yard look good. But I
use the word immaculate. Those yards look immaculate. That's what I say.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that because that's actually a part of my little outro catchphrase.
Oh man.
If you're striving for that immaculate lawn or garden, just know we work it. So that's like my little outro tagline. So it's funny you say that. But I mean, it's one of those things and Kid, I agree with you, man. It is it's definitely something about having them yards right. I mean, after you come in or you pull up to the driveway and you pull in and your yard, everything is nice and tight and in place. And then that amount of pride of you standing out there on the front porch or on the back porch, the neighbors and stuff walking by, you're like, yeah, this is nice. This is nice.
Yeah. So here at the Dad Rules Podcast, we talk about dad stuff. And it's one standard question that we use here at DRP. And that question is, tell us about your relationship with your dad.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's a good question. My dad and we have a very good relationship. We've definitely grown closer over the years. So the older I've gotten, the closer my dad and I have gotten. And I think it was a part of that becoming a man, that maturing of age, that experiences of life. Like, so now my dad's seen some of my ups, he's seen my downs, he's kind of seen me grow from day one. So now he has that full picture of like, yes, I've seen him turn into the man that he is today, and he's had a hand in who I am. And the thing is that me and my dad we're very close in personality. It seems like the older I've gotten, the more him and I are almost exactly alike personality wise. Um, Very meticulous about the things that we do. Uh, Hard working, whatever it takes. If we want to do something, we're gonna go out there and do it and get it done. And Another thing is we both love being outside. I'm more of a outdoorsman type of person.
Yes.
But not necessarily. My dad's not that, but he loves being out in the yard. Love turning wrenches if it comes down to working on the cars, doing anything. And I'm the exact same way. We love to have our hands busy and doing things. And I just feel like the older I've gotten, the more important that relationship between my dad and I have gotten, because I've had to have some grown man conversations with him.
Uh-huh.
Coming to finances and everything else, and planning for the future and all of that. Growing up, we thought my dad was tight with money.
Mhm.
He was like, "Dad, man, like, why you so tight, man? You don't spend no money on nothing, man. You won't let us do nothing." But now I see a different side of that coin. He
Mhm.
wasn't just being tight; he was planning for the future. So he had the house paid off in record time, before he even retired and all of that. So
Mhm.
now that my mom and him are retired, they sitting there, house paid for, everything around the house is paid for. So now they can enjoy their retirement without a lot of bill responsibility and all of that. But all of that was set up by that financial standpoint of what I thought young was he was being tight.
Yeah.
But he was planning for the future.
Good. Good. Good.
Hey, so let me ask you this, Cam. So it sounds like he definitely helped shape you to the man that you are today. Would you say that you're kind of like a carbon copy of him in a way, in terms of some of the things that you do? Not being like kind of more so like being tight with money, but it's for a purpose. I mean,
Yeah,
would you agree with that statement? Okay.
I would.
Okay.
And the thing is like the older as I've matured and become the man that I am, I've also looked at some of the things that I want to do differently.
Okay.
And that's like again, I think our relationship has grown because of the fact that we've had some of those conversations of like, Pops, man, I appreciate what you did by doing this. But what I do know is I think I'm gonna change the way that you did this.
Right.
And then it was like you try to and the thing is that hopefully that'll help build our next generation to be better than what we were. And that was always something that he and my mom both said is we want y'all to be better off than what we were. And I
Right.
think that's one of the goals as a community and as a people, period. We all need to strive to be better and to leave the world, leave our generations, leave everything better than the way that we had it. So yeah,
Yeah.
we've had some of those conversations.
Yeah. I definitely I feel the same way with me and my dad, and we've talked about that on the podcast before, and how I love the way they did certain things, but then as time changes, I have to tweak things.
Hmm.
Even from a career standpoint, back in the day, you could go find a job.
Hmm.
After you straight out of high school, you go find a job, work for that company for 30 years, get your pension, everything is great.
Yep, you good.
When it came to us, things changed.
Hmm.
And I had to go about it a different route to get into my career and, start a life with my wife and for our family. And now I'm thinking forward, like trying to make the next generation better. I got to prepare Jonah differently than even what I did. because 15 years from now, he's gonna be living in a slightly different world. And I feel like that I push him more into independently being able to make money on his own. So, those are some of the things I think. And I think it's a beautiful thing when we realize that we need to continue to get better. And the expectation is here for you to be better. And we want you to do that. And we will help you. We facilitate with you any way we need to or can to help you achieve all the goals that you want to achieve. So
yeah, and that's definitely one of the things that that my dad tells me, and that was one of the conversations that we had. I think that was probably one of the first like grown man conversations that we had, of where our paths were kind of split, or our thought processes were kind of split, and we had to tweak some things. So in college, I think this was my sophomore year. And just like you said, I'm from a small town in North Carolina. I mean, my dad grew up on a farm. Um, Ended up finishing high school, ended up getting a good job after that at a facility, just a plant there around town. Good job, good work, that stayed there, worked them. I think he's only worked at like 2 or 3 companies maybe in his entire life. And everything was good. But for me, things were a little different. All right, you're gonna go to college. That was them pushing me to be better than them. So boom, I get into college. They really hadn't navigated the college scene before. They hadn't navigated any of that, but I had to figure that out. So I'm out there figuring that out. And then I start hearing about internships, co-ops, and all of that. And it's like, okay, I think this is something that I need to go do to prepare myself for a better position when I graduate. So I come to my pops and was like, yeah, so I'm gonna take a semester off, and I'm gonna go work with this company, and then I'm gonna do an internship right after that in the summer. And yeah, that's what I'm about to do. And he's like, nah,
yep.
nah. What you're gonna do is you're gonna finish the schooling. You're gonna get this schooling, and you're gonna finish that. You're gonna get in them books, and you're gonna finish on time. And I was like, I don't think that's the right way to do it. And then he was like, well, I, I think you need to be in them books and finish school on time. I was like, all right, so look at these two options right here. I can finish on time. I can graduate 4 years, whatever the case may be. And I've got no work experience. Now I get out there and I still can't find a job. Or I can take this semester off. I can go work with this company that now I can get 6 months of work experience with them already within my field. And then I go do this internship right after that, which is another 3 to 4 months. So now I've got almost 10 months of work experience and the potential to possibly get a job with them when I graduate, because now I've got an in and they've already seen me perform. Those are 2 options. I think the first one could land me back on your couch eating up your food. I was like, you got to see the bigger picture here, Pop. And I think that was the turning point right there. And that was where he was, and he'll tell me that. And I mean, it's probably every 2 or 3 months he sits back and he reflects on that conversation. He was like, I'll never forget when you told me that. He was like, I'll never forget that conversation. And I think that is one of his proud moments of where he was like, I've done what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I think to him, that's the point of where he felt like he's going out on his own.
Yeah.
I'm not going to leave him out there, but he's going to blaze his own path at this point.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, right? I mean, we as fathers, we raise our kids, our sons and our daughters to stand up for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you came with the facts, you came with, a well thought out plan, and you was able to convey that to him, and he received it. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were pretty bold with that, Cam. I'm not gonna lie. Because parents, they're pretty passionate about educating their children. So I can see.
And that was like I said, I think that was that first turning point of where it was like, oh, he actually told me. And later on, I told him, I was like, Pops, you know, it didn't matter what you said. Like I already had, like, you could have said no, but I already, that plan was going forward. And that was probably, that was where we were going to split, either in a good way or a bad way. Like that was, you could have said what you were going to wanted to say, and I was like, I was already going to do it. He was like, really? He was like, I could tell you had thought it out too much. He was like, the way that you came and that you talked about it, he's like, I could tell that you had already thought about it, you had it thought out before you even came to me. Which is, he was like, another reason why I was like, you know what, it probably don't even, he was like, I was thinking that, I didn't say it. He was like, it probably don't even matter what I say anyway. He got his decision. He knows how I am. He knows how he is, and he knows that we're really close in personality. He was like, it was probably one of those things that he already had his mind made up. He was gonna do it anyway. I was like, yep, you're right.
Yeah. So my next question for you is, how did you develop or discover this passion for landscaping and for lawns?
Man, it started early. So like I said, my dad worked on a farm, so he was used to being out in the yard working, doing stuff. I started cutting grass on a riding mower before I weighed enough to actually keep the engine engaged.
Wow.
So you know how you got to sit on the seat and you got to weigh a certain amount to keep the engine and the blades and stuff engaged. So I ain't weigh enough for that. So we used to keep like a little cinder block like beside the lawnmower and a pillow. So I had to pick the cinder block up, a little half a cinder block, put it in the seat, and put the pillow on top of it to keep the mower engaged so I could go out and cut the grass. So that's how young I was when all of this started. And even back then, we had like 2 acres of land, and I cut it for the most part. And like I get it started, and then dad would come in, finish it up like the next day or when he got off work. So that's kind of when my passion for it started. I enjoyed it. Like for one, as a kid, I get to be out there driving and doing everything else. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed that part of it, being that it was on a riding mower. Like I'm just out there driving. I'm enjoying it. And then as I got older, it was that passion for that golf course look, that immaculate lawn look.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, and I was like, man, that looks good. I was like, when I get a house, when I get older and I grow up and I get a house, I gotta have a nice lawn. I gotta have a nice lawn. So that's kind of where it started from, where it came from. But then on top of that, it kind of just grew after I got my first home. I started taking care of it, and then it just kind of snowballed into something bigger after that.
So this never was a chore for you.
It wasn't a chore for me. It was never a chore for me. Even though it was a chore, it wasn't ever a chore to me. So we moved into our next house, and then by this time I'm probably 13, 14. My dad had a little side hustle on the weekends. We go cut a couple of yards in town. And then that seemed more like a chore because it wasn't, man, we got to cut 5-6 yards every weekend. And then I went from that to now I'm in high school, early high school, middle school, and I start cutting some of the neighbors' yards. So like now I'm getting a little side hustle going myself, making a little bit of money as I'm in that elementary school, early high school phase. And I'm like, all right, man, I can give me some money I can give me some money off of this easily. I mean, it's right here. And it was never really a chore for me. Like I do enjoy being out cutting grass. It's something about, like we was talking about earlier, that pride of when you get done sitting back and looking at it. it is nothing like it. And now, as y'all see, I'm into the stripes and doing cutting different patterns and everything. And like, it, it's enjoyment, man. I can really put my headphones on, go outside, and man, I can be out there all day cutting the yard, and it'll be from one thing to the next, and I am at peace.
Yeah. I don't know. Like when I was a kid, like when I became a teenager or whatever, my dad got a lawnmower. I cut his yard a few times or whatever, and then I started getting into sports and stuff like that. It looked like, I don't know, I just stopped doing it. But I think it's just amazing that like you never felt like it was a chore. You never really felt like somebody was making you do it, and then you found a love and a passion for it. And I think that's the best way to really help others is when you're really passionate about something, you really love doing it. And then like when you start researching and trying to find out how to make the grass greener and stuff like that, you don't even feel like that's work.
Yep.
You know, just because it just comes naturally. Because I know sometimes, like, even when I'm doing things with the podcast or when I'm doing things like with real estate and stuff like that, I don't even feel like it's work.
Yeah.
Because I love it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that saying is like, hey man, find something you love doing and something that you're passionate about doing and do it. And it doesn't feel like work.
That's right.
And that is like right now, that's what this is turning into. Like I found something that I'm passionate about. And I spend a lot of time reading about grass, like researching about grass. And there's a whole turf management course out there that I've started taking. Right now I'm studying for a certification to go ahead and get certified and get all my licenses and stuff. So it's one of those things that, as you're doing it, is there's more than grass than what meets the eye, and which is just the green. And like I said, I'm an engineer by degree, so that science of it behind it, like it's blending the two, is really fixing a itch that I have. And then like my personality, like this is something that I'm passionate about on both ends. And that I also enjoy the science behind it, which is something that I've always loved, which is kind of like in the background of my career, is that science and math. I get to do calculations of nitrogen applications and percentages of this and applications of that, and how much of the uptake is going to come in, and like what's your growth potential percentage on certain days depending on the humidity and temperatures, and what's your rainfall growth. There's a lot more behind grass than what meets the eye. And like just getting into it and knowing the science of it, it really fits my personality. And we all say it, like I think this is a sign of like when you're starting to get older, is if only I could turn back the hands of time and do that part all over again. I know exactly where I would have went.
So it's a layered, like this whole setup with grass, it's just a layered process, because you talk about taking courses and getting certifications. I didn't know it was that deep. I did not know it was that deep. Like that's straight. I like that.
I'm boggled right now, because it's just like I thought it was just lawnmower, cut grass, water it. That's
right. That's what I was thinking. I just thought about. I said this is more than just cutting and water, right? And sunlight.
Yeah, man. And that was one of the reasons why like I rambled off all of that stuff the way that I did, just because of the fact of there's more to it, and there's a lot more to it. But do you have to do all of that? No. Right. And when I do talk to people about lawn care and getting their lawns together, one of the first things is, what are your expectations? Like where are you on this scales? Because there's levels to this thing. Like, so like
obviously.
So everybody wants what's behind me. But then you have that conversation of, Like how much time, like you start to get into reality. How much time do you really have? What is your actual lawn care budget? Like what are you like? How much effort do you want to have to put into it? Which all of those things help you get into a couple of different things. I mean, there's different grasses that fit different maintenance profiles. Like some grasses are better for people that, man, I don't want to have to cut my grass, but once every 2 weeks, maybe twice a month, maybe once a month. There's a certain grass type that's better for that. And then there's people that, when I want to be out there, like I want to be out there all the time. I want to be able to do this. I want to do that. There are certain grass types that are better for that. There's grass types that are better for different regions of the country, depending on what your climate is. And a lot of people don't, I mean, they don't think about all of those things because you just think grass is grass.
Right.
I can look at grass and tell you almost right off top which category it falls in. I mean, and there's two basic categories, which is warm season, cool season. A lot of that's determined off of region or where you're located in the country. I mean, your downside to your lawn could be you're trying to grow the wrong grass type in the wrong region of the country.
Mm.
And that can be a simple fix. A simple fix just to get you going on the right path.
Right.
Mm. So let me ask you this, Cam. So, you talked earlier, you said you were more of an outdoors person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the total opposite. I don't want to get out there and cut my grass. I don't want to get out there and turn wrenches. That's not me. That's not who I am, right? And me and my wife, we've had, conversations about that. You didn't marry me for my mechanical skills to be able to fix it. Oh, I know how to take it to the mechanic to get it fixed, but I'm not going to be the one that's doing that, right? So, and I know we got dads out there to fit the spectrum of all those different things. Some are just like you, some are like me. So what type of tips do you give, or what you give for a dad who is like you, who's wanting to take his lawn to the next level? And what would you give tips? What kind of tips would you give to a dad that's like me, that's okay, I'm gonna go get somebody to do it for me? And what kind of things would you give that dad to say, hey, here's what you need to look for?
Yeah. So I'll address the Mario dads first.
Okay.
I'll address the Mario dads first. What we're gonna do is you want to make sure that you're getting at least some knowledge of what's going on.
Okay.
Because you'll have people that'll come in, they'll try to sell you just about anything. Oh, you need to get this, you need to get this, you need to get that, you need to get this. So at least having an idea of some basic foundations and principles of what you're doing of what needs to happen in the lawn. And I'll start with just 3 of those principles if you're going to get somebody to bring you in. So the first one is making sure that they're getting a soil test and you get to see that soil test. Because when I first got in my house, I had people coming to do it. They said they did a soil test. Then once I started learning more and I wanted to see that soil test, they couldn't provide me a soil test result. So they
Okay.
said they did one, which I believe they didn't.
Okay.
Right.
So now they've thrown your lawn into a program with everybody else that they just running and is doing. They're not giving your lawn potentially what it really needs.
It's not catered to my lawn. It's just a generic thing. Okay.
And
One
it
size
could
fits
that
all.
and that one size fits all could be what your lawn needs, or maybe not. So your soil test is just like that foundation of knowing what nutrients are in your soil and what needs to be put down. Period. That's like going to the doctor getting a checkup. It's like, all right, your cholesterol is good here, your blood pressure's there. All right, cool. You good, stay on a standard diet. Or nah, we need to adjust your diet because of certain factors or nutrients or whatever's going on in your body. Same thing with your soil. That's all. Just get a checkup, see what's going on, see what's there.
Okay.
So from that point, now you can kind of monitor them a little bit. They're at that point, they know, all right, he is at least gonna be paying attention and checking up on me when I'm out here to see what's going on. So, and that starting with that, and then the next thing is understanding the frequency that they're going to be coming to make those visits. Like, how often are you only coming out in the spring and fall? Like, when are you going to be coming to actually make an application? And the third thing is asking them what they're putting down. That way, you can at least go back, research, and look up exactly. All right, they said they put down XYZ. They put down a fertilizer that was a spring fertilizer or a winter fertilizer, whatever the case may be. It just keeps a tab on them and at least keeps them honest.
Gotcha.
A little more honest than like them just showing up and you not caring at all, and then they can just be out there doing whatever. At least they know you may be the only one that will ever check them and be like, yo, so like when you write up my ticket or you write, like, can you at least list out what you put down and what the applications were?
Gotcha.
So that's where I would go for, we're gonna call them the Mario dads.
Okay. And I can tell you from this right here, I've never asked for any of those things, a soil test or anything like that. And I can guarantee you that, because I can think about one time when I was living in Ohio, guy came around, he was like, hey, we want to do this to your yard, da, 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 we'll make it look like this, blah, blah, blah. I paid the money for them to do it. And I didn't see any results, and I don't know what I was supposed to do or whatever, but
I think I was there when the guy came by.
Yeah, I probably got, but that's what it is, so I appreciate you, giving these tips right here, because that's definitely gonna help me for the next time for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, those are just some basic things that's almost like going to a mechanic. And one of the things that can help mechanics not get over on you is, hey, when you get done, like, I want my spare parts. Like, I want my spare part, whatever you took off.
Yeah.
Now they know, like, oh, okay, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you really take them with you or not,
yeah,
like that, like that's just another one of those things. And I mean, I used to tell girls and stuff, like in college, I was like, look, man, if you go to the mechanic, hey, tell them you want like your spare parts after you get done, like at whatever you get fixed. That way you at least know they changed the parts out. Go grab them from another set somewhere else. Yeah, but I mean, they ain't gonna go through that kind of effort.
Yeah.
All right, so I think the next one was the dads that want to be active, that want to be out in the yard, the cam dads.
Right.
All right, so first things first, it's still going to be a soil test. That's still the foundation of whatever you're doing. Anything in the lawn, it still starts with a soil test. And if you go to my YouTube channel, I've actually got a full playlist that starts from taking a soil sample, taking that soil test, getting the results back, kind of walking you through like what the different nutrients mean and like what you're actually looking for and what they do. So it kind of gives you a little introductory course on getting started. So that's kind of the foundation of it, is learn you some basics, and that soil test will kind of get you going in the right direction. The next thing is going to be learning some fertilizer basics, because I like to say that we call them cultural practices, which are basically fertilization, your nutrients, watering, and mowing. Like those are like the three pillars of lawn care right there.
What are them? Say them again.
It's going to be nutrients, so your fertilization. The second one's going to be watering, and the third one's going to be mowing, your mowing frequency. So you get those three things balanced and in control, and you will start to see changes in your lawn. So once you get that soil test, you learn you some principles on fertilization, your nutrients, and everything. And then you'll want to step into, I'll even leave watering to the third one. The second one's going to be mowing, like cutting your grass. what people don't realize is the more frequently you cut your grass, the more it's going to want to grow and be healthier. So the
Cam.
more you mow, the more it grows.
All right,
Like,
Cam, let me ask you this before you go on. How often are you cutting your grass, man?
so at peak season, when like things are rocking and rolling, 3 times a week.
Three.
Three times a week.
Wow.
Three times a week. When
That's
things
what's
are
up.
when things are rocking and rolling and everything, like growing conditions are good, like when you get that spring flush, so like we're almost into that springtime, when it comes and things finally start to wake up from the winter, let us get a month or two in the spring, month and a half in the spring, like these cool season lawns will be up and growing, especially if you put fertilizer down in the fall. It's gonna start jumping out the ground. You get that first fertilization in on it, and it's gonna shoot out the ground. And yeah, during that period of time, I'm probably cutting 3 times a week.
Mm.
And I love it. I love it. And the thing is like when you're mowing more frequently, so one of the sciences behind it, and I'll try to keep it basic, is grass grows vertical and it grows upward and downward. So upward is going to be what you see was the grass blades, and down, of course, is the roots. So the more you keep cutting the top of it off, the plant learns that, hey, I'm just going to keep getting cut off. And it starts sending more energy into the root development than actually trying to grow up vertically.
Wow.
So at that point, you kind of get the lawn trained, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna be at this height. Boom, I'm gonna just send my energy down in the root growth. The more healthier your root system is, the healthier the lawn is, the more stress that it can take, the better it looks year round.
Yeah.
So the roots is where the magic is.
Yeah. And I've heard barbers say the same thing. When you cutting hair, you got to train your hair, to cut it a certain way, and the frequency of which you cut your hair is very similar. It sounds like it's very similar.
Exact same principle.
Wow.
Exact same principle.
Wow.
Exact same principle. So when you get onto, so that takes us into that mowing, that number 2 principle, that mowing principle. So you don't have to cut it 3 times a week. The better you want your lawn to look, this is where that expectation thing comes in. And when I'm talking to people, I'm like, all right, so what are your expectations? Like, what are you looking for? So if you're looking for that immaculate lawn, just be prepared to, you're going to have to do more than the standard. And cutting 3 times a week is more than the standard.
Yeah.
So if you can only get out there once a week, I think I'll say the bare minimum of cutting a lawn to have it healthy and like to really look decent, you can get away with once a week. If you're on a frequency of cutting it once a week, now there are times that it's just going to be growing more than others. So you might have to up that. So if you can get out there and get it twice a week, but I say during the growing season, minimum, you need to be out there once a week, keeping it cut. So from that standpoint, now we'll get into the watering. So the last pillar of that principle. So watering. When we get into summer, I mean, it's just one of those things that it's a plant. It needs water. Like, so when it dries out or it gets into the heat of the summer, you need to be putting down some water on the lawn. How you do that, try to water in the mornings if possible. Morning waterings are better than evening watering, because then watering in the evening, it just kind of, water just sits on your grass blades are wet all night long. That just breeds disease. So lawns will get disease and fungus and they'll die off. The heat and humidity just kind of adds to that. So try to water in the morning. That way, by the time the sun comes up, dries the grass blades off, now your disease pressure is low. So that's another little tip in there from watering. During the summer, most lawns and plants need about an inch of water a week. You don't need to be watering every day. Every 2 to 3 days is as much frequency as you need to be watering. The deeper you water for a longer period of time, that water just gets deeper into the soil. Watering every day will end up with shallow roots and a whole lot of disease pressure. So you want to toughen up that plant a little bit, drive those roots down deeper, so they got to go chase that water because they're not getting water every single day. So that's another pillar in there. I mean, and just keeping those things simple are the just what I'm trying to do here. And you can just continue to look into that more. Like those are the foundations of what you want to do. So that'll get you started, and start looking into those 3 principles right there, and you can go deep into them. Like
Yeah.
once you start learning those 3 things, there's more than enough information out there, especially when it comes to fertilizers. I mean, it's so much stuff out there regarding fertilizers and all of that. But my main point is, if you don't have a soil test, don't throw down a fertilizer, because you don't know exactly what your lawn needs.
Yeah.
So get that soil test first. That way you can be responsible with whatever fertilizer that you're putting down. And then that'll help your pocket and the environment.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. You answered that really good. I'm just like that dad that I've always paid somebody to cut my grass. And like they're doing it like every 2 weeks. And I'm like, if I keep going this way, my grass is never gonna be like that.
Nah. You
So,
got me
yeah,
rethinking a whole bunch of stuff, Cam. You got me rethinking a whole bunch of stuff. I'm just telling you.
Like, hey
So,
man, you did my
so-
hey, you come in here cut my grass, man. How you did the soul test yet? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean that's the thing. I mean, and I think what we said earlier, and we were talking about it, there's more to grass than what meets the eye. And a lot of people, they haven't thought about it. And that's the thing, is like you haven't thought about what actually goes into it, or what's going into it. And then once you talk to somebody like me that is, I won't say obsessed, but very into it, and has done research and has looked at, like, read articles and all of that, and he was like, man, all of that's going on. And it's a lot of the same science that, like, I mean, how do we think we produce as much food as we do for this country for us to eat? I mean, there is science behind growing a plant. Like, there is science. And another thing that I want to put out to people that are getting into the lawn, there's no magic product out there. It ain't no magic fairy dust. Like, it is there are products that help benefit you and that will help benefit the lawn, but there is also solid agronomy and science behind things that work. You don't need a fancy product and all of this. Stick to the basics of it, basic agronomy, making sure you're getting the fertilization, make sure that you're watering properly, making sure that your mowing frequency is up, and use solid products. And you don't have to have a fancy, highest, most expensive fertilizer that's out there. My lawn has looked the best. I ran some tests last year using different fertilizers and all of this, and I found that my lawn responds the best to a fertilizer that not a lot of people use, and it's almost a garden, like farm agricultural type fertilizer, and it's cheaper than just about anything else that's on the shelf.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, yo, Cam, you use that fertilizer? Yep. Yep. And
now,
it
is it due
works.
to your soil, or is it due to just what you're doing with it? Or a little bit of both?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both, of understanding what my soil needs, understanding how my soil is structured, and knowing that this type of fertilizer and what is in it will work good for the type of soil and the lawn that I have.
Gotcha.
And I found what fits. And it's one of those things that was like, yeah, this is, after I dug into it and I started learning more about it, I got deep into understanding the soil, and how that was my venture of last year, was understanding the soil and how fertilizers impacted that. And
Okay.
that's how I was able to dive into, yep, I think this is the best fertilizer for me. And this is why I have seen the results that I have. And being able to easily explain that. And then I've talked to guys that are in the industry, like with degrees and everything. And they was like, you don't have like, you go to school for this? I was like, nah, it's a whole bunch of reading and everything else. And they was like, but everything that you just said makes sense of
Yeah.
why that would work, and why you're seeing the results that you are is because of X, Y, and Z, the factors of these interacting. You're on the right track. Like, that's why you're getting the results that you are, because you're using solid agronomy and science behind why you're doing what you're doing.
Gotcha.
So as long as we can understand the science behind it, it's obtainable for everybody to be able to do this. But one thing that I do see, that as long as you're willing to put the work in,
Yep.
that's a key part right there, is sticking to it and doing it and putting that work in.
Put that work in, and have a little bit of patience. Have a little bit of patience. It ain't, and one of the things you'll hear me say, and we say it. So I've got a team of people that I work with. My man Polo over at Polo Fields Lawn Service. My man Turf over at Turf Therapy. Those are their YouTube channels. We get together, we do lives. We'll do live streams. Something just like y'all are doing on the podcast here. We'll do live streams, and we'll have a topic and we'll talk about them. We'll go into more depth than what we will on some of our videos, because it's hard to get people to sit down and watch an hour-long video. Like, you got to concise it, get down to the point.
Yeah.
But during those lives, like, we take questions from the audience. Like, if you've got stuff going on, you can put it in the chat. We'll bring it up, we'll talk about it, give you some feedback on it. But we call it the We Working Team. So that was at the end of my videos and my taglines. All I say is, just know we working. Like, that has been a principle of my life for as long as I've known. Like, it takes work. If you want anything, you're gonna have to put some effort into it. And that was another principle that came from my pops. I ain't giving you nothing. Like, things in life are going to have to be earned. You're gonna have to put in some work. You're gonna have some discipline. You're gonna have to show some dedication. And the thing is like, when a lawn, consistency is key. And you ain't got to do a whole lot. Like, you can be one of them people that go out there and all you do is fertilize 4 times a year, 3 times a year, giving it some nutrients. You mow it properly. You get out there at least once a week, and then you get some water down on it. If it's starting to get into the summer, you at least keep that watering frequency up on it, making sure it's staying alive. You do that over a couple of years, it's only gonna get better. And a lot of these golf courses and stuff out here, and like lawns that people admire, them lawns are 5, 7, 10 years old, and they've been taken care of consistently. It's just like working out.
Yeah.
You be consistent with it, and over time, all it does is get better. Like, you just get in better shape, and it becomes easier to do it.
Yes.
You're gonna see the results.
You see the results. So that consistency over time, I mean, that's one of the things that comes with lawn. and we'll say it. We say it all the time. It's like, how long did it take? Like, when am I going to see results? And that's this, and like, put a minimum of 2 years on it. Put 2 years on it, and you'll hear us say that. It was like that's another one of our catchphrases. 2 years. Put 2 years on it, because a lot of people ask, "What product are you using? What product is 2 years?"
Yeah.
That's what product I'm using. 2 years.
It sounds like, Cam, that this is so much like a lot of different things that's in life, to where people see that beautiful lawn you got in your background and they want it right now, but not realizing that it takes effort, it takes consistency, it takes, getting up in the morning, watering your grass, those types of things that you're talking about. It's just not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in one season. As you said, it's going to take, some blood, sweat, and tears, and all those types of things, right?
Yeah.
That's dope. Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, I mean, and that's why I wanted to give you like that simple overview also of like, you don't have to be out there all the time. I'm out there all the time because I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I enjoy it. Like that's peace for me. Like that's something that I enjoy doing. Like I said, you can be the dad that gets out there and all you do is like during your growing season, you get out there, you give it the nutrients that it needs to have 3-4 times a year. Boom, you get out there, do your fertilizer. Boom, you keep it cut. You keep your water going. Hey man, you can be out there and spend an hour a week on it, maybe, depending on what size your lawn is. It could be less than that. I mean, and be done. And over time, you'll get there and you'll be like, this is all right. And I guarantee you, next thing you know, you can be like, how can I get it better? Like the next thing you know is gonna be like, let me what else can I learn? Let me dig into this fertilization stuff a little bit more. Let me look into, hey, what kind of mowers they got out there? What can I do a little different? I guarantee you, I've seen it happen a number of times. As soon as you start seeing them results, you're just like, what if I spend an hour and a half at it? I think I can squeeze another 30 minutes in there.
Yeah, it's just like working out, like you said.
Yep, same thing.
Yeah. So right now we're in the off season, and I guess we'll be in the off season. We're in February right now. What should we as dads be doing to our yards, in the winter to kind of prep and get ready for the spring and summer? And then also another question is, the yard that we're seeing behind you, your yard still looks like that in February, correct?
It does not.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
It does not. And I'll address that one first because I get it a lot. I get this question a lot, and I still try to address it as much as I can, because depending on your location, like there are southern climates where it doesn't get as cold. Their lawns, if you've been taking care of them, they'll look fairly decent all the way through the winter. Like there's really not a season. I mean, they don't get inches of snow and all of that. It stays fairly mild during the winter. Like down back home, North Carolina, South Carolina, down in those areas, I mean, their lawns will stay fairly green all year. This year, I'm located in Maryland. It got pretty cold this year. We've had snow like most of January. We had snow on the ground just about all of January. And I actually posted a picture on my IG, screenshot of our soil temperatures. Our soil temperatures were down around freezing just about all of January. So what that does is it zaps all the color out of a lawn. Like it's not meant to be able to withstand those kind of temperatures and that cold for that long. But what I tell people, and people's like, hey man, what's going on? It's winter. Like it's a plant that is outside during the wintertime. Like it's not gonna look that great. My lawn doesn't look like this at all. Is barely any green out there in it at all right now.
Okay.
But am I worried about it? Not at all. Because I've seen this cycle a couple of years now, and it'll come back. Like grass, I mean, grass is more resilient than what we think it is. So it'll come back. It doesn't look like this at all right now. And I ain't worried about it. I'm gonna get out there. I'm actually gonna make a video on that today. It's gonna be the lawn check-in, and it's gonna show exactly what it looks like, and it ain't like that.
All right. So what are you gonna do right now, or can you do anything right now, or when will you start back?
Right now is the time to start preparing. Now is your preparation time. So what am I going to do? I'm going to follow them principles that I just said. First thing to do, get a soil test. So I will be pulling my soil test today. Like it's warmed up. We've had 3 nice warm days, so the ground is thawed out. So I'm gonna go out there and we'll pull my soil test. So that's one of the first thing that people need to be doing if you are getting into the lawn season for this year. Get your soil test. And then at that point, once you get those results back, then you can start thinking about what products and fertilization that you're going to do, stepping into that next pillar. And then it's like, okay, fertilizing. Now you know what nutrients are in your soil. Now you know what you can put down. So figuring out exactly what fertilization you want to use for the season, which that's what exactly I'm doing, the exact same thing right now that I'm telling y'all to do. And I'm taking inventory of all my products and everything that I have left over from last season that I know I don't have to go buy, figuring out what I have to go buy, and I'm getting prepped. So that's what I've been doing. I did a little bit of it last night, and it's gonna be nice outside today. So I'm gonna be outside in the garage and get the tunes going and take some inventory of what products I need to go get. And outside of that, learning. Like, so if you want to get into the lawn this year, start reading up on something, watch a couple of YouTube videos, pick up an article. I like to sending people to kind of their local extension office. Like, so if you're in Maryland, the University of Maryland, local extension office, you can also look that up just about for any state. You can kind of put in like your city and then put in extension office or agricultural extension office. They normally have like basic guides for you to be able to follow for your lawn. Like, so they'll give you like some basic principles, kind of what we just talked about. So looking up that information at your local extension office, they'll provide you a little guideline of what you can look for to prepare for this season when it kind of comes to fertilization and all of that.
Cool.
So preparation, that's what this time is for, preparation. And I will say the most important thing that is probably coming up pretty soon, for especially if you're down in the South, is going to be your pre-emergent application. That's normally the first thing that happens. So everybody battles these weeds. Everybody talks about weeds. I got all these weeds in my yard and everything else. Pre-emergent helps prevent the hint pre-emergent. It prevents the weeds before they come up. And that application is an important one to get down at the right time. And for those that are out there, if you haven't done it before, I suggest you be a Mario dad in this scenario, and you just call up your local applicator and get them to come out and make that treatment, because that is a very important one to get down to get you going in the right direction for this season.
Cool. All right, so Cam, last question that we had for you was, can you talk about the connection that you see between fatherhood and lawn care?
So for me, that's a really good question. I like that one. I there's something that comes behind planting a seed and watching it grow, mature, as you nurture it, as you take care of it, and it evolves into this great thing that you are now proud of. That is the same relationship that I see that I saw also from my father when he had that moment of, yeah,
Yeah.
he's going off on his own path, is one of the things that I feel like he saw as me, as his seed, as his son. He's given me all the tools that he knew. He's done the best that he could, providing me the tools, the nurturing, and everything that he could to get me into this phase of where I was. And then it was like, that was that grand moment of, this is something that I'm proud of. Like, I think there's a very close relationship to that. And myself, as in not being a father, I could only see that through what I believe my father's view was. And as the son, I could see that. And it was just, he was like, yeah, like, and I can tell because he brings that point up so many times and so often to this day. And I'm here 35 now, and he continuously brings that up because, and I think that is that point, that relationship of his work, his nurturing, and his providing as much as he could paid off into like, now this is like my proud son is now going on to be a man that I can be proud of. Like, so I think that's the relationship that's there. Lawn care is no different. And then I think as a people, there's a connection with putting things in the ground and growing it. I feel like we have a connection with growing things, and it's a deeper connection than just a plant that's coming up. There's something about getting your hands dirty. Like, there's something about putting your hands in the dirt and taking care of something, and it's growing, and you see the change, you see the work that you're putting into it paying off, and the effort that you're putting in is coming into those results that you're looking for. So I think that's another deeper portion of why I enjoy doing what I do, and why I enjoy being in the lawn, that I don't want to let go. As long as I can do it, I'm gonna encourage, like, I think this year I'm gonna try to get my nieces to I think I'm gonna go down to North Carolina and try to start growing like some little tomato plants with them, and then just kind of like get them going. Because it's one of those things that when you can take care of something, you can nurture it and you can see it grow and you can develop it. That's another thing that we need to be able to pass on to the next generation.
Yeah.
And right now I don't have kids at this point yet. So like, I look at my nieces and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to get them out in the garden, and like they watch all my YouTube lives. Like, like they'll be, my niece, like, she's got an iPad and stuff. She'll be commenting, "Hey Uncle Cam, hey Uncle Cam," in the comments and everything. They watch my YouTube videos. So, um, and even my wife's nephew, like, he's into watching me cut the grass and everything. So I think he's what, like four or five now. So like, I think there's something to it, man. I love seeing the guys that are in the industry and they've got their daughters or their sons out in the yard with them. I think it's also an activity that can help a dad spend a little bit more time um, with his son or with his daughter, out in the yard. Just, I mean, let them go out there and help you. The soil test I just had a consultation earlier this week with a lady that has 3 sons. I was like, this is a good project for, like, bring the kids out, like, get them out, let them play in the dirt, help you pull the soil samples and everything, give them a little shovel or whatnot, and get them out there. I think there's so many opportunities that you can kind of just pull the kids out of the house a little bit, get them out in the yard, and spend a little bit more time with them. I know mine are gonna be out there whether they like it or not. At least while they're young, I'm gonna
Yeah.
at least try and get them out there, and I think they'll enjoy it. What they do when they get older, that's yet to be said once
Yeah.
they start getting into the technology.
Yeah. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
sounds like either way you're helping cultivate like developing life, that's
Mhm.
kind of what I was thinking about when you were talking. But yeah, that's good, man.
I looked at it too, like, I know y'all probably heard this, some people let their kids grow up like weeds, and that's why I started thinking about like how much you cut your grass and
Mhm.
how much you think about it and how much get your soil sample and find out what they need and stuff, what your grass needs and everything like that. And I'm like, as fathers, that's what we do all the time.
Mhm.
We're supposed to have our kids on our minds, giving them everything that they need, food, clothes, shelter, what they need mentally, spiritually,
Mhm.
being there for them, being somebody for them to talk to, somebody they can lean on, somebody they can trust, and raising them, telling them about life, preparing them for life. We doing that every single day. We
Mhm.
can't let our kids grow up like weeds.
Yeah.
Like, we have to make sure that everything is straight with them.
Yeah.
Do everything in
That
our
nurture.
power.
Mhm.
Do everything in our power. And, like you said, once they grow up, I mean, it's on them what they want to do with their lives.
Mhm.
But we have to train them up the right way. And I think it's a lot of connections there with lawn care. A lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And this it's that nurturing. It's that pouring into developing the roots.
That's right.
Developing the roots. And as I learned more about lawn care, that's one of the things that I learned. A healthy plant starts in your roots. If you don't have a strong root system, if you've got a weak or shallow root system, as soon as the slightest bit of stress comes from environmental conditions,
Foundation.
that plant's going to wither. That plant's going to struggle. And I believe the same thing with raising a family, raising your kids. I look back onto a lot of the foundational principles and what was taught to me, the roots being back at home and the lessons that were taught from my parents. I lean on them heavily. Like, I lean on them heavily, having that root structure, having that foundation. I mean, I think is key. And there's a heavy correlation. That I think that analogy was right off the top of my head. I hadn't thought about that
It
one,
was
but
dope. It was dope.
But the roots are so important. But when we look at the grass and we look at the picture that's behind you, we look at the green grass and we are all amazed at how good it looks, but we don't even see the roots.
Mhm.
But without the roots, it wouldn't be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you said, laying down that foundation for our kids is everything, even though we might not get all the credit or whatever, but
Mhm.
whatever they turn out to be, that's what we're proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something else too, just along those same lines, and it's something you said earlier too, Cam, when you talked about consistency is key,
Mhm.
and I think about it, it's the same connection with fatherhood. I have to be consistent with my
Right.
son and my daughter.
Right.
I have to be consistently in their lives. I have to be consistently, the same person. I can't be up one day, down the next. They need to know that, what you see is what you're gonna get from dad,
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I remember and I remember this, one of our all three of ours, one of our good friends, Jay Jennings. I remember having a conversation with him once, and he was talking about just being consistent. Even if you're consistently a bad person, you're at least still consistent. Is kind of the
Right.
gist of what he was telling me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just about being consistent as well. It's also the roots, but that consistency is key as well. And you mentioned that earlier too, Cam. But yeah, that's dope, man. That's
Yeah.
dope.
Yeah. And that's one of those things, man. Not being a father yet, but it's one of those things that, like, I look back on. I mean, you start to get older and you start to look back and you're like, man, it's a whole lot of years back there. And I start looking at some of those things that I remember and that have made me into who I am. Like, how did I get here? Like, what are some of the things that I really value, and that are really important to me? And a lot of those have to deal with my upbringing and my roots and my family. Love my family to death, love every last one of them. And I'm at this point, I'm definitely getting back to a lot of things that are in my roots. I grew up hunting and fishing. Like I went back home this Christmas break and took my wife back with me, and her uncle, her closest uncle, was an outdoorsman too. He loved to hunt. Like so, I actually took her with me. So we went back and we went hunting. I set up a tree stand, went scouting and everything on some of my family's land. And it's another one of those getting back to the roots kind of thing. And we did that, and I'm getting back to a lot of those things that I enjoyed doing growing up, a lot of the things that were a part of my roots, a part of that family structure. Like those are really the things that have value and substance in life. And they say never forget your roots. And it's funny like how life cycles around. I'm loving to get back to that. Like
Yeah.
I'm enjoying getting back to it. That was probably the first time I had been hunting in what, like 10 years, 10, 11 years. And then I met some more fellas while we were down there that were hunting that nearby. They took me hunting with them a couple of days, and that was probably like the most relaxed and like the most fun and enjoyment and at peace I had been at in a long time. Because life gets busy. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we're in corporate America. We're climbing the ladder. We're trying to do this. We're trying to financially be responsible. I mean, y'all have got the kids and the family to raise. I mean, there's life gets busy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the times, like I was down there for like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, where life like slowed down. And it was just like, man,
Yeah.
this is nice. Like this is nice. And I think we all need to
Yeah.
we need to
Much
take
needed.
time. Yeah, we need to take some time and do that every now and then. Just slow life down a little bit and reflect.
That's cool. Got anything else, Mario?
No, I don't. I don't.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for listening to the Dad Roots podcast. And we thank you again, Cam, for coming on to our show and
Appreciate it.
enlightening us and sharing all your wisdom about lawn care. It was really a good episode. Guys, we want you to like, share, subscribe. And guys, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Rules podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Kid. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Breaker, and Player FM. Till next time.